I'm getting better at starting this thing without screwing it up.
Yeah, I know.
I got my whole little system. Power and speed. We're back. Sorry, we took a snow day on Monday.
We are back.
But there was just way too much shit going on around here.
908-751-0211 is the number.
Like us on Facebook. And?
Come on, Tad. iTunes, speed it up. Please, please. Bad enough I had to have your dumbass around all the day.
And he's whispering.
I know.
Like us on Facebook.
But I was here yesterday. Nobody else was, so I don't care.
Yeah, apparently this retard drove up the driveway yesterday. And
then he finally texted me about, we're not doing
well, because what happened is, and James is not here today. Crunch isn't here. He got stuck in New York. I guess I was texting with James. Hold on a minute. I want to be quiet and listen to myself come back over to microphone.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you. Oh, my God.
I didn't turn the sound up. It was, oh, God.
All right. So anyway, I thought, we had made the decision to cancel the show in group. I'm sorry. I had to embarrass you, Tom. I couldn't help it. I thought we made the determination in our little group text, but I was just talking with Crunch. So you knew, I knew, Tad didn't, but whatever. We're here. James is actually on the phone. Let me bring James in. We have to talk about the pro stock numbers. You there, James?
Crunch is here.
What's up?
What's going on, fellas?
Done. What's going on?
Same old. I had a lot of traffic and a lot of snow in New York, so I'm on the highway now just coming there, but I wasn't going to miss the beginning of the show at all.
How's New York doing? Do they have like most of the snow out of the way, or is it still crappy?
Yeah, well, New York, they don't mess around. They like the business, so they keep the sidewalks nice and clear and the streets clean because they want the business. Over here in Jersey, that's another ball game.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I saw something on like in Newark or something. They didn't do anything till like today. What the hell's going on over there?
I don't know. They have a new mayor, Mayor Ross Baraka, so there's no telling what's going on with that administration.
Yeah, what a mess. Well, it was bad here, so taking yesterday off was probably a pretty good idea for everybody.
Right.
But I know what we want to talk about more than anything is the information that's coming out about the pro stock passes. And I wasn't sure what I guessed. I didn't remember what anybody guessed. I just know that your guess was on the higher side. And I thought Tad's was low. Somebody was low.
I was 10.5.
But I honestly couldn't remember. But as luck would have it, where you normally sit on a little pad there, you wrote it down. So we actually, Thomas, could you read those numbers?
Yeah. It says,
I just like to hear them.
So it says Mike 212.5.
How fast the car go so far?
212.5.
Okay.
I guess I don't need to read anything else, right?
No, you can. Well, I mean, we can't go by that because absolutely what we said is this is going to be, how fast they go at the meet, right? Yeah. They were in Florida and it was obviously cold there because people were wearing jackets.
Yep.
So it was probably good air.
But they still ran fast.
Yeah. Better than I thought they would.
I don't think they're going to give anything back.
It's not looking like it at this point.
No. It may be 213, 214-ish.
And what did Crunch guess? See, now it's between me and Crunch.
Well, I mean, Crunch guessed 217. I mean, he's over the national record. Who knows?
Well, if they didn't give anything back a motor and lost the scoop,
yeah,
he could be right.
Could be.
He could have made the right choice.
Yeah, could be.
So you got a shot, Crunch. We'll see. It's between me and you.
Crunch.
Uh-oh.
Lose him?
Yep.
We
lost him now.
Yep.
Technical difficulties.
Well, that was good. He was there for the beginning.
Difficulties.
No, I mean, we had always talked about it. And what was the number? I heard, God, I got to remember
50 to 75, right?
50 to 75 in total, right, is what the gain would be if you could lose a hood scoop because they thought it cost like 100 or so to get the car down the track with the scoop. But then you did get some back.
Yeah, with the forced air.
Scoop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, if Crunch, I mean, I don't think he did on purpose here. He's back. Hang on. You back, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I don't think Crunch did that on purpose, but if you added back in what you should be able to get for mile an hour if you really lost a scoop, his number could be right if they maintain horsepower number.
Yeah.
Really could be.
Could be. I just don't. I just don't know if they can because the RPM limitation, and it's so new. But you never know. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was hoping that the guys weren't at weight, or they were heavier than they were supposed to be for the 212. But the 212 was right on. So Mike, you did a good job with that.
No, I just pulled that out of my ass. The only thing I think Tom said what 210.
Yeah.
And Tad said what?
No,
I did
Tad
210.
said 210. I said 209.
All right. Oh, so you were the low.
Yeah.
I was low. Yeah.
Pessimistic motherfucker.
Yeah, I was.
All right. So I looked at it and you said, what did Crunch say written down there? 217. I picked the biggest area that I could jump into.
In the middle, yeah.
So that's why I picked that. It was dumb luck.
Well, not really. You watch Price is Right or some
I do.
game show that, yeah.
I was going to bid 1 mile per hour, but everybody was more realistic. So what did you do this weekend other than the snow, Crunch? Anything?
Actually, I'm writing a book, so I was writing on my book on my laptop the whole weekend. I stayed in the house.
I'm not sure I heard what you just said. Did you say you're writing a book?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm writing 2 books, as a matter of fact. But the first book, it's almost completed. So I was writing on it in the house, and I shoveled on Sunday. I didn't do anything Saturday. Stayed in the house, ate corn pops, and a lot.
Ate what?
Corn
Corn
Pops.
Pops. I saw his post.
Corn Pops are good. That's good cereal, dude. That's like it's a close second to Lucky
yeah,
Charms.
yeah. Well,
Lucky Charms is still a topper, but Corn Pops are. I got to give it the nod. He's
Lucky,
right.
Lucky Charms is the goods.
Yep, absolutely.
No
What
doubt.
happened? You couldn't hear me, Tom?
No, I didn't know what Corn Pops was for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the little yellow.
Yeah.
Purple.
Yep, I know what they are now. Yeah, they used to call them Sugar Pops or something. And then they got politically correct.
Yeah, they got yellow balls.
Yeah. Little yellow balls of sugar and chemical. So what are these books about that you're writing?
One I can't say, but the other one is about relationships with all the women that I've been with in my lifetime since I was a kid. And it's called My Butterfly. That'll be out soon.
Really?
Interesting.
I'm a car guy, but I'm trying to do things that I love.
But hold up a minute here.
45.
Hold up a minute here.
45 this year.
Hold up a minute here. If you wrote about all the women that you were involved with, aren't you potentially screwing up the woman now or a little later on?
Well, actually, I'm a bachelor right now. I'm single. I'm enjoying life. And the next time I get with a woman, hopefully we'll be together for the rest of our lives. If not, I'll just be single forever. And I'm content with that.
Yeah, he's looking for that woman with the diesel. You know.
God. All right. So are you going to be able to hang around for the VP Fuels guy or no?
Yeah. I'll call back when he gets on because I'm on the highway. I'm on Route 280 right now. So I'll call you guys back. But I'll be listening the whole time. You know, I don't miss the show.
I hear you. All right. Well, I'm sorry you couldn't make it, buddy, but, keep listening, and when he's on, give us a call back.
Yeah, I'm out here doing research in the field, car guy stuff.
All right, man. I'll see you.
All right.
Writing a book on women he dated? That's bad.
Yeah.
There's
I don't see any
nothing good comes out of that.
Yeah, no.
Nothing good comes out of that, ever.
All right, let's talk about some car shit. Will we? Can we, please?
Yeah.
Talking about butterflies and whatever the hell he was talking about.
I hate to give a plug to Top Gear. I hate to.
Then don't.
But I have to because it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I just saw it just before the show, and I didn't get to post it on the Facebook page yet, but I will. Top Gear on their Twitter feed had stadium trucks racing on snow and ice, like a snow course.
Yeah.
That was pretty fucking awesome. Those guys were getting it. And I mean, it sounded so nice. Like the thing sounded so good, so healthy, so clean. What a neat deal. I mean, you go, I don't know. I'm going to put the link up for it, but that was pretty badass.
Yeah, it was. I got to watch it.
What are you smirking for?
Well, because I just saw somebody's on the somebody's listening live that I didn't know listened. Pretty cool.
What? Tanner?
Okay.
No.
Oh.
Shut up, Tad.
Arc welder? Little inside joke there. But,
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody in our chat room understands what that joke is.
Yeah. Well, we got somebody on hold.
Who is it?
That is the VP representative.
Is it? Freddie's here already?
Yeah, Freddie's here.
All right, let me get him in.
Crickets.
Mr. Turza, how are you?
Hey, Tom, how's it going this evening?
Well, it was Mike, but close. I'm actually a little better looking, I think.
Oh,
What's up, Fred?
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, you're gonna have a rough time telling us apart. People say that we sound alike, although I'm better looking.
Yeah, I've been listening for a couple minutes, and you guys kind of do. I'm like, you both sound the same, so I'll just have at it, you know?
Well, just remember, I'm the good-looking one.
Oh, my God.
So, what's going on? VP Fuels. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, what do you want? What do you want to hear?
Well, I mean, normally what we would do is, because a lot of the guys that come on, there'd be a lot of people listening that don't know, like we have JJ, Subaru guy, come on.
Yep.
What IAJ? I always get that screwed up because I
Yep.
always want to say AIG for insurance. But I mean, like people don't know them, so we give an introduction. I don't think VP Racing Fuels needs an introduction.
Certainly not.
I mean, they are the name in racing fuels. Everybody knows, but probably what a lot of people don't know is that Fred Turza, the gentleman on the line with us, is actually from this area. He's from the Northeast, and he was involved in the circle track racing years ago.
Long ago.
When I remember when Brian first started, and I was telling Tom that I remember going to Billy Pouch asked me to go to, like he was trying to get people to go to this engine seminar they were having, like taking care of it. And
Yep.
Mr. Turza was the person giving the demonstration. So
Yep.
I remember that. That's actually the first time that I met the gentleman.
I've known Freddie for a long time. He's been an engine builder in my territory a long time, and was good enough to use a bunch of our stuff back in the day. And well, tell us about yourself, Fred. What is your position at VP?
Well, listen, I've been with these guys for 10 years now, and, I've been affiliated with BP probably for 25 years, Tom, back when I had my shop in Pennsylvania and was doing some testing for them back then. And I've always had my hand in there to some degree. And of course, over the years, once I migrated down south here and kind of got away from it. However, though, at one time, Steve Burns, the founder of VP, was heavily involved in some oils. And I was very fortunate to get to use some of those oils back in the early 2000s, back when the restrictor plate motors were really prominent, and we were, trying to get every horsepower we could out of them. And we had some great success at Labonte Racing with some of Steve's oils back then. So I've always been somewhat affiliated with them and maybe strayed from time to time. But in the last 10 years, I've been, full-time with this company and been part of the research and development staff and, kind of consult in both the Northeast, the Southeast, and Europe.
So you get around a little bit, kind of like me.
Yeah, I kind of do, and it's kind of neat to get to see a lot of different cultures of people. But when it all comes down to it, most of the people that I deal with are racers, and it doesn't matter what language they speak or where they're from. It's all about winning a race, and I think that's kind of a neat deal there. That I'm very fortunate to have that.
And that's, to me, that's why, somebody like yourself to come on and talk about fuels is important, because anybody that's into cars or any form of motorsports, I mean, unless you're racing a Tesla golf cart, you're all using gasoline.
Yep.
That doesn't matter. I mean, so everybody has, some affiliation with a fuel, whether it be out of a pump or whether it be out of a drum. And, that's where I'm hoping somebody like you could maybe explain to some of these people why you choose the fuels you do for the applications you do.
Right. And one of the biggest misconceptions that I face with a lot of the racers out there is, the octane value. They feel that octane is something that is important to the performance, and it is to some degree. But octane is just a measurement to prevent detonation. That's all it is. That's all we're trying to do, is stop detonation. So I always start my little discussion with that little yellow sticker that you see on the pump when you go for your gas for your street car. It says 92 or 91 or 89, and in this country here, we kind of base our octane values off of what we read on that little yellow sticker, and that's just all that is an average number. It's a guesstimate because we take our motor octane number and our research octane number, combine them together, divide it by 2, and we come up with that number. That number is not necessarily what you're putting into your race car or your car. It's an average, and it works to some degree. However, when we talk the performance world, we'd like to know a little bit more about what we're putting into our race car and what's coming out of that pump.
Now, I have a question that's actually on the calculation method of the 2 different methods. And I will use this. There is a competitor's fuel that some of my Circle Track buddies had used, and they used it with our Sportsman motors that were like, really, they were cast iron head. And I don't know if you guys draw the distinction of that when you recommend a fuel, cast iron head or aluminum head based on a given compression. But these motors were like 14.4, 14.5 when we got the heads as tight as we could, and an iron head. Okay. And they were getting a fuel that had what seemed to be a pretty good rating. But what it really was is there was a wide difference between research and motor. Like, it was like drastic difference. And of course, if you've got 2 points and you take the average, it could look okay. But in the end, they melted. And then it took us a little bit of time to figure out what people were buying that was causing this problem. So what is the difference between the 2 rating standards, and how do they affect in real world? Like, what does it really mean in real world?
Okay, let's look at these. They're called ASTM testing, and this testing started back before World War II. And the reason why they started was for one reason: to prevent detonation in fighter jets. And I can talk about some of the war efforts and how there was an octane war that was going on between the 2 sides to try to create the best possible octane value, to prevent detonation. But anyhow, there's 2 different tests. The one that we're concerned with the most is when the engine it's the motor octane test, and that is when the engine is under the most stress. So naturally, a race car, any type of race car, is under a lot of stress. So that's the test that we always want to base what we're doing off of, is the motor octane value. The temperature is higher, the RPM is higher, and there's much more timing into that little engine, that octane engine, to cause that engine to detonate. So that's what we were concerned about as racers. The other numbers, they're not really that important. Actually, in most cases, I don't even look at them most of the time when we do some testing. It's just that motor is the important part. And sometimes that can even be a little bit misleading because, and I don't want to get too technical here, Tom, but let's say you have 4 or 5 components into that fuel. There's chances that each one of those components, as they are called, has its own octane value, own octane rating. So they can actually start to cancel each other out. So if you had four groups of a product that made one, the numbers can help each other or hurt each other. You kind of follow what I mean?
So you're talking about in terms of like the additive package.
Well, they're not additives; they're components.
Okay.
So additives are different. Additives would be something that you would add to the fuel after you've already have that base product established.
Okay.
This would be the components. So, we talk about light ends a lot, and most of the time when light ends are in fuels, they have a tendency to have a little bit lower octane value, but you can gain a lot of power through light ends. And I'm jumping around here, guys, a little bit because I'm just like throwing stuff at you here that I talk every day about to engine builders and professional race teams. But the most important thing is to have an octane that is suitable for your application. You don't want to under-octane the engine on account of detonation, and you don't want to over-octane it because it will create a slower burn process.
Right, and the slower burn will actually, depending on your application, result in lower horsepower, right?
Yes, unburnt fuel in the combustion chamber.
Yeah, and hurting exhaust valves, stuff like that.
We struggle with this from time to time, and I'll tell you, in some of these big nitrous applications, a couple of years ago, we were faced with a situation where the fuel was actually too slow of a burn, and it couldn't get across that piston fast enough. And we ended up with residual fuel in the combustion chamber, and that will cause detonation also. We went round and round with that, and that all goes back to basic fuel pressures, fuel injection. There's a big difference between a fuel-injected engine and a carbureted motor and how the fuel reacts.
Sure.
And fuel pressures are also a big thing, and that's when we talk about Reed vapor pressures. That's another important factor in determining what fuel you need for that's going to optimize your application.
Fred, let me ask you a question. One of our listeners just chatted in. If you know, because I don't even know what this is, but I've heard it. MTBEs in C85. I guess that's the. Do you guys make C85 or do you make C98?
We do a couple different blends. We do an 85. We do some 98 stuff. We definitely have embraced some ethanol products. A lot of this runs in, and I don't want to call them fads, but a lot of times they're trendy. Some of these fuels become trendy. So let's start with MTBE. Real quick, back in 1991, the Clean Air Act, they had a group of products, components, and they're called oxygenates.
Yep.
So with that being said, MTB was, of course, one of them, and it took a bad rap. It really did, because it's a good product that makes good power, and it has very good energy value. Well, what had happened was, and you're going to, some of the older guys like myself, you'll remember this, they were pulling all the gas tanks out of the ground. Every old tank was rotted and leaking, and it caused the MTB to seek the water. And it got into the water systems, across the country, and just caused a lot of problems pollution-wise because it wasn't contained. It's like anything else. If it's contained properly, it can be utilized to its maximum effort. And so the government said, okay, no more of this stuff. We need a switch. We need an alternative. And that's kind of where the ethanol came in, because the ethanol works a little different, where it's what we call hygroscopic. It actually will pull water in. It won't seek water. It'll pull it in.
So you don't use MTBE in C85?
That would be proprietary information. They're two different oxygenates, is what they are.
Got it.
I'm not saying that it cannot be used in there, just as it could be possibly used in methanol, which is another oxygenate also. So everybody's kind of got their little chemical sets and potions going. And
I get it.
All
right. Well, the guy that asked that question figures he would be right on the edge of asking something crazy. But he said it screws up injectors. That's why he was asking.
Well, it does. MTB is not compatible with a lot of your injector companies with the O-rings. That is correct.
Oh, okay.
It does in fact cause problems with compatibility.
Yep.
So yes, that is a true statement. So you guys got to be careful when you're out there thinking about using. You got to be a little bit of homework and educate yourself as far as what's actually in some of these fuels that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big topics we face every day is percentages. They want to know the percentages of oxygenates that's in the fuel, but nobody really tells them that there's several different oxygenates. So it almost can become irrelevant to, of course, a racer thinks more is always better. But sometimes the energy value of that particular oxygenate that's being used in the fuel may not be the same.
Got it.
Got it.
So, yeah, I mean, I've always heard that Q is highly oxygenated and makes better power than C, like 16, as both 16s. So that is true, right?
That is correct. Yeah. And let me just touch on what an oxygenate does.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. Most people have the, they don't quite understand. They think of an oxygenate. The only oxygenate that has an oxygen-bearing compound or molecule in it, to the best of my knowledge, would be nitromethane. So, with that being said, an oxygenate is a little bit different in how how it works. What it does is it gets the fuel to get to a vapor faster. Okay, so we can distribute it through that manifold and get all 8 cylinders that they're optimized. Because you know and I know that intake manifolds can make you or break you, and if you're, not all 8 cylinders make the same amount of power. We all know that. So how can we help that along? And that's with an oxygenate in the fuel to get that fuel to break down into a vapor. So that's basically what it does. And it does carry some energy with it also.
Okay.
But not like nitro.
So it gets lighter and it gets easier to fill the cylinder.
That's basically correct, yes.
Okay.
Now, on the newer generations of fuel, like the Q, I remember, and I think I told the story on a previous episode, when there was a fuel that was out. I'm trying to remember who actually started it. I think it was ERC in Superstock. And people were using this fuel, and, it was the big secret. And once people found out about it, then people started buying it. And then VP had something, which there were 2 that were very similar, C44 and C46. And I got to tell people the story about this, so this can lead into how you should store your fuel. We bought a 55-gallon drum of either 44 or 46. I don't remember what it was. And, we were using it for dyno testing. And, we were just checking super stock motors. A guy'd want to know what it would make with C44. We'd run the motor. We'd give the guy the motor. We'd cap the drum back up. Take 5 gallons out, cap the drum back out. Halfway through that drum, the benefit was gone. Completely gone. It was like, maybe we picked up 2 or 3 horsepower. It was like using C12 again. So from your expertise with this, what is the way that you should avoid, or what fuels, let's say, can you leave in the fuel tank over the week? What fuel, storage requirements should you have? We hear these things about storing in metal containers only, or ultraviolet blocked containers only. Are there any more hints or anything you can tell us about how to take care of the fuel that we're buying?
Yeah, when you're buying an oxygenated product like Q, you want to keep it in small quantities, because it happens exactly what you said. As you continually dipped into that drum, those light ends that I discussed earlier can evaporate out, and a lot of times there's a lot of energy being lost there. So you're in fact 100% correct by making that comment. So if we can contain that fuel in a smaller container that has less opportunity to gather ambient air or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be better. You're going to kind of contain the light ends, because they will evaporate out quickly.
Well, and that's what we kind of figured it was something like that, because when you took the lid, off the 55-gallon drum, you always get a whiff of that perfumey, and C46 smelled funny. It smelled almost like somebody pissing on a header. It had a really weird smell. And every time you uncapped that drum, the whiff that you got out of the drum was ridiculous. So, are you saying that it would be your best bet to keep the reduction of airspace above the fuel? So let's say somebody was going to get a drum of C46 or Q at this point. Should they break it down into smaller containers as soon as they break open that drum?
Some guys do. Some of my guys do. They actually keep a 15-gallon drum in their trailer, and they keep it full. And some guys actually put a nitrogen blanket on top of that 54-gallon drum. Everybody kind of has. I don't exactly know what is the optimum choice there, but you're going to notice a lot of your drag racers are dragging around those pails, 5-gallon pails.
Mm-hmm.
They want a fresh pail all the time, and I don't really see anything wrong with that. I think that's a good idea. It's a little bit more legwork, but for the amount of power that you're gaining by using this fuel, it's probably worth the effort.
Yeah. Now, we've got Circle Track guys, and a guy just text messaged me now. Circle Track driver I know, marginal, but he drives. He wanted to know if he's using an oxygenated fuel like a Q, which I guess the question is, what fuels are able to be used in Circle Track that are oxygenated? what is their life in the fuel cell? And like, I mean, if you got a guy who's going weekly and he's got a typical vented fuel cell, is it okay to sit in the car over a week's period, or should it be removed from the car, or even a drag racer for that matter, if he goes to the track on a weekend?
You want to cap that vent on that fuel tank. If you're racing weekly, you want to cap that vent, and you want to cap the float bowls.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's probably the easiest way to do it. And I tell guys this all the time. Don't tell me you're gonna race once a month, or if you're going to do that, I would prefer that you flush your system, your carburetor, with a conventional fuel. Just do yourself a favor. You might be okay with it, but you got to remember, some of these fuels can be in fact corrosive, and they can stick some needle in seats, and they can wreak havoc on some of the rubber components in the fuel system. So you got to be a little smart about it, and do some due diligence and take care of your fuel and your fuel system. It's important. But from a weekly standpoint, it's okay. Just cap that vent on that tank and cap them vent tubes on that carburetor.
Fred, we got another question from one of our guys. One of our guys is asking, do you guys have like a 93 octane fuel, or what's your lowest octane, like pump fuel? And what would be the advantage over buying, a street brand 93 octane?
Okay, we have what we call our C9, and that's basically a 93 octane, unleaded, non-oxygenated fuel. Now, the secret to this is the base product, what we use. It comes off of what we call an alkalization unit. So it's it's a very premium base stock is what it is. So, of course, it becomes a much higher grade fuel, and it's very consistent. When you're getting it from wherever you're getting it, from a local gas station, you really don't know what you're getting. And I'll tell you why. And I'm going back to and Tom, you're going to remember this. When we were kids and our dads would take us in their pickup truck and go somewhere, and that thing, you'd be going up a hill with a load of whatever in the back, cylinder blocks, that thing would start to rattle.
Yep.
And he'd say, I got a bad load of gas at the gas station. Okay. We no longer hear that. And the reason why we don't is because of our ECUs. As soon as it hits that, detonation, phase, it pulls timing out, puts fuel in it.
Right.
And we don't ever hear it. The NOx sensor takes over. Excuse me.
It's okay. So
that doesn't mean that the fuel has gotten any better. Actually, sometimes the fuel has gotten worse over the years. But the technical side of our cars has just gotten so much better. So and same way with vapor lock. We don't hear guys vapor lock, and that's a whole other subject. But when you talk about circle track guys, it's important that they understand sometimes what's going on when you're using an oxygenated fuel. It does have a tendency to want to go to vapor quick.
Yep.
So it can vapor lock on you. So you need to be very careful about your fuel system and guard it the best you can around your headers, and try to keep as much heat out of your fuel system as possible.
Explain to some of the guys that don't really understand the phenomenon of vapor lock what it really means, because a lot of circle track guys are like, "What?" I mean, I hate keep picking on them, but it is what it is.
Well, yeah, it is what it is, and basically, like I said, the fuel wants to get to a vapor quick when it's oxygenated. And where do we want it to do that? We want it to do that as it comes through the booster channel into the Venturi. That's when we want it to happen. If it starts to happen before that because of heat, okay, the fuel pump has to pump liquid. It will not pump air. So if you see your fuel pressure gauge bobbling down the straightaway, okay, you're in some sort of vapor lock phase, because the fuel pump cannot pump air, and so your gauge will fall off. And then guys will come in and we got to change the fuel pump. Something's wrong with it, and they put a fuel pump off the truck on it, and everything's fine. And they think they fixed the problem, but they didn't fix the problem. It's going to come back halfway through the feature. They just don't realize it because they bolted on a cold fuel pump.
Yep.
Yeah.
We want to try to keep the heat away from that fuel as much as possible. And you'll see guys like in the spring of the year, they'll have those turbo heaters pointed under that car, heating up that rear end, and man, they're just getting some temperature for that ring and pinion, but they're also heating up the fuel cell.
Yeah.
They're heating up the fuel that's in the fuel cell.
Now, on it, so is that one of the criteria as to why certain VP fuels are recommended for circle track and certain ones are recommended for drag race only? Is it their ability to withstand temperature changes like that? Is that what that is?
That's true to a point. Each fuel has its own application, and some of the fuels can be at times what we call heat sensitive. Exactly what we're saying, and so what you want to do is you want to do as much research as you can to find out, what fuel best suits your needs. And we've got guys that have great luck using Q16 in circle track racing, but they do their homework and they know what they need to do to try to keep some of that temperature out of that fuel. Any fuel, guys, any fuel that you use, the colder it is, the more molecules are closer, tighter together, the more energy that you have. And you remember years ago the old Moroso cool can?
I was just going to say that, the Moroso cool can, yep.
That's the deal. And them guys, we thought it was really cool looking. We really didn't know what it was doing, but it was definitely doing something. And those guys knew it was doing something, but they just couldn't quite put their finger on it. But they knew cold fuel meant horsepower. Mm-hmm. And that is the true meaning behind that cool can, is to compress those molecules of that fuel, get them tighter together.
Got it. That's good info.
Probably, I guess the only other question that I really had, something that's always bugged me, what's different in fuels that are designed for nitrous? Is it, more anti-detonation agents? Are there other components specifically that make that, recommended for nitrous usage? Because you look through and you see some of the fuels are specifically recommended for nitrous usage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of those fuels have pretty high octane value because the nitrous doesn't really have it. It creates havoc. You guys know that. Mm-hmm. It will detonate the shit out of those engines. So we've got to try to control it. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to have such a slow burn that we can't get it all burnt. Several years ago, my buddy Ricky Smith was over in the Middle East there, and they were hurting motors left and right. And we got on the phone together, and I said, look, here's the fuel you need to put in this thing. And they were like, you're crazy. That's a pro stock fuel. That won't work in pro mod. And I'm like, I'm telling you, this is what we need to do. And, it has a lower octane. This is true. It does. But remember what I said earlier in our conversation, that sometimes octane value doesn't always necessarily, is not always the deciding factor on whether to use the fuel or not. Basically, what those guys were doing is they had such a slow burning fuel in there, and it couldn't get to a vapor because they were now spraying on the backside of the intake valve with those fuel injection motors. It didn't have enough time to get to a vapor to efficiently burn in the combustion chamber, so they were actually puddling the fuel and causing detonation.
So they actually had liquid fuel in the chamber.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Crazy.
Now, with a carburetor, with carbureted engines, it's a little different. You have lower fuel pressures. Okay, the carburetor, the fuel is coming out of the venturi. It's got a lot of time to get to that vapor state because it's got to go through the carburetor venturi, into the manifold, down the intake runner, into the combustion chamber. There's a time frame there. With a fuel injection engine, you're spraying basically on the backside of the intake valve into that combustion chamber. Not a lot of time to get that fuel to go to a vapor.
And probably also further amplified, you're hitting it with relatively cold nitrous oxide compared to everything else. So, I mean, the cooling effect.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, right.
Wow. Okay, good point.
Listen, hey, I know that's to the extreme. Those engines are monsters, and they're generating a lot of power with 4 and 5 systems on them, but that's kind of what we face, and as the engine packages change and technology changes, we have to change along with them, be able to keep up with what they're doing. So it works both ways. Fuels that were designed. Hey, listen, guys, we all know whether it be VP 110 or any 110 product out there, those fuels were designed 40 years ago. And I'm not saying that they're not good, because they are good, but we don't build our engines like we built them 40 years ago. So everybody kind of needs to keep that in mind too. That's professional engine builders. That's really on top of their game. Yep, some of those fuels are very relatively inexpensive, but that's like anything else. You get what you pay for in the sport.
Yeah, and I mean, like with the Circle Track stuff, it's the local Circle Track stuff. It's always tough because somebody picks up like a fuel sponsorship or a track fuel, and they want you to use it, and you don't really know. I mean, for us, it was always you're buying fuel at the track. No. You got to buy a drum of fuel. I'm sure most engine builders would want to sell the drum of fuel rather than have them pick it up at the track, because you don't know how long it's been there. You don't know if it got contaminated or they accidentally started to put the wrong fuel in. I mean, you never know. And
it happens all the time.
Yeah.
It does. And having the fuel in the drums, the engine builders, it's more of an insurance policy for those guys. It's not that they're making money on the fuel, because they're really not.
Oh yeah, hell no.
It's an insurance policy that they can, give to their customer.
Yeah, I mean, if the engine builder, if the engine breaks, the guy always looks at the engine builder, no matter what. I mean, even if they overheated it for the past 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, so engine builders always want to put everything on their side that they can. And like when we found out that guys were hurting the sports motors because they were using a fuel that by the number looked really good, but when you really looked at what the fuel that they were getting was, it wasn't. So yeah, engine builders would prefer you to have the most consistent fuel. And as engine builders, we always told everybody that our only recommendation is VP. That's all we ever recommended.
Well, we sure do appreciate that, and we try to do our best. And our company's based around racers. That's what we do. Everybody that works for the company is somehow, whether directly or indirectly, involved in racing. And I think that's important too, because our passion runs deep.
Fred, I got one more question, and then we're going to let you get back to whatever it is you were doing with your family or work or whatever. One of our guys wants to know if you guys are going to have an E98 product at any point.
There may be a possibility. I mean, right now we've got some fuels that are in our EXP mode, which that are experimental phases, and we haven't released anything like that yet. I mean, you'll just have to stand by. I mean, there are some new products that are on the shelf that we're working on. And that's another thing too. The amount of time that goes into the research and development of these products, it's very time consuming. It can be very difficult.
Yeah.
Right now we're working on. Believe it, I'm going to tell you guys right now. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. We're working on a diesel project right now.
Wow.
The diesel market has exploded, and there's just so much going on in the performance side of diesel. So we feel that there's a need to have a consistent diesel fuel, and we of course we will take it to the next level to produce more power once we get established.
Well, it's funny because we were just talking about that, wondering who's going to be the first manufacturer to knock on the magic 1,000 foot-pound window, to hit that mark for a consumer product you can go in and buy, because you're getting closer every minute.
Yep.
Actually, I just told Alan when he was asking me to ask questions, I was like, I'm going to ask I want to ask the diesel question. And there it is.
Yeah, so. There's a lot of interest, and there's more and more people, because diesel's become so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
For what you can get, especially for like the big full size trucks. Like there's another guy who's on the show, Fred. His name is Crunch. He's a guy. He couldn't be here. He works and he drives into the city, and it's tough. But I was telling him, I said, you're going to buy a pickup, you got to buy a diesel, dude, because there's nothing like what the good diesel pickups are like now. So yeah, I can imagine that market being pretty open.
Yeah, it really is open, and there's a lot of need for it. I talked to some tractor pool guys today. I've been talking to a lot of those guys across the country, and I didn't realize how big the diesel market was.
Oh, yeah.
We started to look at it, and these guys are they're serious. They're serious racers, and they're very passionate about what they do. It's like, wow, this is a whole new venue here for us and for our industry as far as that goes, Tom, you know?
Yeah, well, that's good stuff. That's really good
Now,
stuff.
I know Tom said that was last question, but one guy asked a question, and I'm curious because this is a really good question. The GDI, you know, gasoline direct injected engines, are they changing anything for how you guys look at fuels? Is there anything that they do differently that might impact what you guys do for fuel development?
Yes, absolutely. Anytime you have that type of, direct injection, remember what we were discussing about timing of the fuel to get it to a vapor. And I know that there's different injectors that can help that, help it get, and they design them that way to help them get that liquid to go to a vapor state. And it's all about timing. And yes, we look at that. We focus on it when we build some fuels. Right now, we're doing some European fuels for FIA competition over there, rally industry, which is very, very big in Europe, and we're kind of in that direction right now. And for sure, it needs to be addressed all the time.
All right.
Yeah, perfect. Good question.
Like
Yep.
Well, Fred, look, it was great talking to you again after all these years. I mean, I haven't seen you probably since that time at Pouches. It was an awful long time ago.
Yeah, I know. Years go by so quickly, and we're all doing what we do, and it's hard to get to see everybody. But when I make my way back up there to the Northeast, I'd like to catch up with you guys and spend some time together. And I appreciate you having me on the show because, I just try to educate as many as I can to help them. Because we didn't have this growing up, we didn't have anybody that could really help us. And a lot of our way we did things was trial and error. So,
Yep.
And anytime that I can help anybody, on the fuel side, give me a call. Not a problem.
Yeah, I would tell you to plug VP, but VP doesn't need any plugs.
Yeah, but he certainly should.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a number you can give out where they could call or
you can go to our website. It's got a bunch of numbers on there. We've got a whole tech line service for guys, whatever application could be, whether it be drag racing, circle track, power sports. We're big in power sports, and it's pretty easy to get somebody on the phone to talk to them. So
cool.
You guys can do it that way, and go to our website. There's a lot of information there, and if you need any assistance, you can call our Delaware office, 302-368-1500.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Fred. I mean, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate all the information, and hopefully everybody that listens to this gets a little bit of a better understanding of what fuels and why.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Fred. Talk soon, buddy.
Okay, guys. Yeah, bye.
See ya.
Thanks. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
Diesel fuel.
Diesel.
I know. That came out of nowhere.
I know it did come out of the list of things that I would have thought VP would have talked about.
It's really good to hear though that they're outside the box.
Well, even as your ex-engineer said, posted on there, it's like there's got to be a wide variance in the diesels too.
Whose number is he asking for? His?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't.
Well, he gave out the Delaware office. That's where he's from, right?
No, he doesn't.
No?
He's not in Delaware. No,
Not in Delaware.
no.
Clandestine.
Yeah, he
VP tech support.
No, he actually is. He's in North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, no, diesel fuel. That got me. I was going to ask him, and I hate to. We got all. Brian just wanted to inform you that you have a particular sexual orientation. So
Brian said that about me.
He just texted me.
He said that about me. Wait a minute. He said that about me. I hope he's getting my point.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I know.
No, I can't talk. The one thing that I wanted to ask him, and I don't mean to make any offense to Mr. Chang in there with his Subaru and his E85 stuff. Why don't you just use alcohol? I mean, is it a class rule? Because if you're going to E98, aren't you just at alcohol?
I don't think you're allowed to.
I don't know.
I mean,
Jeff?
that's like alcohol with a sprinkling of gasoline. It's kind of, it's 2%.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think we weren't allowed to use alcohol in some of those stupid classes, but
Maybe. Who's on hold?
Might be
Crunch still?
Hang on a quick second. Hold on a minute here.
We got
yeah, too corrosive, but
Yeah.
Hey, man, that was pretty informative right there, man.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Guy had a lot of information and a lot of things like these are just the things that, I mean, I kind of had an inkling as to like why our C46 went bad sitting there when you take the lid on and off.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, everybody knows that smell of racing gas, that perfumey, just like any car guy smells that. And they're just, I don't know anybody it doesn't make happy.
No, that's true. Jeff just answered. He said straight methanol is just too corrosive. You got to drain your tank after every event. And I guess,
but if you had E98, aren't you there? I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
think-
not.
And Jeff, I'm not hating on you. I'm just trying to
No,
understand.
I guess maybe they put some additives in that make it less corrosive. I don't know.
Well, couldn't you put that in alcohol then? Because everybody
Yeah,
I
but-
know,
yeah,
all
but
the circle track guys, they got chemistry sets in their
Dude,
backyard.
it's
for this stuff.
ethanol and methanol. It's two different kinds.
Yeah, but there's still. I mean, I think the additive packages would probably work in just about any of
I
them.
don't know. We should have somebody who knows about alcohol
We should ask the fuel guy.
or FUD.
I was going to ask it. Go ahead, Crunch. I'm sorry.
I was really surprised that he mentioned the diesel stuff, and that was pretty good. But
Oh, yeah.
Mike, I'm still going. Right.
You'll never learn. Poor guy.
Think of those turbos you're going to be missing, man.
1,000 foot-pounds you could have. Get a diesel, Crunch.
I know. When I drive my friends' diesel trucks and I come back to mine, it's like it's a big world, but I just don't want to do diesel. I just can't in my mind. It's a mental barrier in
You
my
are mental. that is. I'm agreeing with you there.
But
I got to tell you, Crunch, there's nothing like that big old excursion. It's stupid. It's heavy. It like driving a couch down the highway. But when you jump on it and it goes up to like 30 pounds of boost, it just makes you the giggle.
Yeah.
you know. I mean,
Yeah, it's fun. Hey, so Alan said methanol is not ethanol, which that's what I said, and Jeff is saying the same thing. That ethanol is not as corrosive.
Okay.
That's the answer.
fair point. I am silenced.
Wow.
Congratulations, Jeff.
You were silenced by FUD.
And I'm going to get you someday. You're going to be someone. Wait till I form my exploratory committee.
Actually, Jeff would be on your one of your commissions.
What would I have him do?
I don't know, but he's a smart dude.
Smart dude.
Yeah,
Okay, smart guys.
We
can stuff.
we could use him, and he's cool.
All right, Crunch. So you thought it was good?
Yeah, I thought that was very informative. Man, we usually have some very informative guests, but it keeps getting better and better. So
Yeah, and Tom's got some pretty good guys lined up that he knows that in the next couple weeks. We got to see how scheduling works.
Wait a minute, let's be clear. Tom gets all the guys, so just so we're clear.
Yeah, Tom gets all the guys because
okay.
I have to push the buttons.
That's right.
I'll tell you what gets me. What gets me is the stuff that I just knew I knew, and then I really didn't know. You know.
Yep.
Well, that's what gets us all, man.
Like you can get race diesel now?
And Crunch, I just want to point out that Fudd has chimed in on the truck discussion, and he said, "Crunch, just buy a Duramax already. Stop screwing around."
He actually did say
So
that.
there you go.
Even your buddies jumping up on your shit.
Yeah, that's my man. But I don't know what it is. Like, you know, I drive for a living. So the diesel that I drive, you know, it's a straight job. It's still a diesel. I get tired of the diesel. I don't like the smell. I don't like to be around. I just don't want it for my everyday dually.
I don't smell it from our diesel, but
All right.
All right.
Last time we're bringing it up.
We'll give you a pass on that one. I'm going to let you go.
All right, fellas, I'm off. I'm home, so I'm get some dinner.
All right. Well, as soon as you sign off, we're going to endorse a presidential candidate. So we'll talk to you next week.
Oh Lord! All right, I'll let you guys later.
All right,
All
see
right,
you,
bro.
buddy.
Later. Crunch.
Are we really going to endorse a candidate?
No,
thanks for calling.
Just check it.
we can't. We can. Yeah,
I'm
like,
sorry, it was printed. So.
like it's going to matter who we endorse.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump would tweet power and speed endorses Donald Trump. It would be major headlines. We'd be on Fox News. You could finally get to meet Megyn Kelly, that monster.
Did you hear he's trying to get her kicked off the panel?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. All right, enough.
I don't even get me started.
I know.
I'm not a big fan of hers anyway.
I know you're not.
I'm not. Sorry. All right. Well, let's get back into the car stuff. Do we want to talk about any of the guests you have lined up or not yet?
We can.
Okay, we'll talk.
Well, the one guy is Don Somerton. He is the Supra owner. He owns Accelerated Performance, and he owns the Supra that went to Street Outlaws. He wants to be on, and the other guy, who I don't know if we're even going to be able to control. It might be a totally out of control show because he is not only one of the smartest guys I know, but he is completely shot.
And who is this?
his name is Marco Asante. He owns Magnus Motorsports in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
And he's hilarious. Literally hilarious. Great guy. Very smart. He's like one of the kings of the 4G63 Mitsubishi. So we got we've had this,
which for us non-import guys is a what?
Mitsubishi. Well, we did the Subaru.
Well, all right, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
Evo.
you, Ted.
Yeah.
You actually hit it. What kind of car it goes in?
Well,
Okay.
an Evo,
most cars.
Yeah. So we did Subaru. We're going to do 2JZ. We're going to do Mitsubishi. We're going to throw in probably a Chevy guy somewhere down the road, and we're going to get a good Ford guy.
Okay.
I'm sure we got some Ford people. I know some Ford people. Actually, there's a guy listening right now.
We all know some Ford people.
See, somebody just said, Jason Hoots, you guys don't know who he is, but he said Marco would be a riot. Marco is a fucking riot.
Okay.
And there's stories about him that we couldn't even tell. Like literally.
We can tell him because it's a podcast.
No, but you really can't because he might go to jail for something.
All right, I'll like this guy. This sounds like
You will like this guy. But actually, we should have this guy Hoots on one day.
Okay.
He's a Ford racer, and he runs a blow-through carburetor.
Right up Allen's alley. Does he have an intercooler or no?
I think he has an intercooler, but his shit runs.
Okay.
It's fast.
All right.
And I'm going to talk to him about that.
Where's he geographically located?
North Carolina.
Okay. It's a little far.
The hub of, what do you want to go down there and talk to him?
Well, no, you'd have to call.
That's a long call.
It'd just be nice to have people in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. You know what? I'll try to get people to move to New Jersey so they can just
There we go. Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Jackass.
You said you got a contact with the guy that's doing the 2,500 horsepower mod motor too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. John at AccuFab.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one.
Well, I'm going to see him when I go to California.
Right.
So we could try to do that. If some of our listeners would throw some ideas at us, we could try to do other stuff too, but nobody, and by the way, we got nowhere on the shirt.
Really?
No. I got time off. I got to go to the mall.
Well, I erased that guy's phone number because I can't even see another rendition of that.
Listen, this is something, and if anybody's listening,
We have to do this.
If anybody's listening that's an art guy, they might want to just press the stop button and just walk away now because you're not going to miss much more from this point forward. We're just going to end the show. I got to tell you, every one of these art guys is a fucking mess. I mean, all the letterers are a mess. I think I know one
Is
guy.
it like people that paint cars? 'Cause
Yeah.
they're all a mess too.
Kind of along the same lines. Yeah, I know one guy who's a very, talented lettering guy, and he does it as a business, and he's good at doing the race cars, and he doesn't do primarily race cars. He does regular lettering. I might be able to ask him, but most of the other lettering guys I ask, they're just a mess. I don't know what to do. It's just how they seem to be. Maybe it's the artistic side. Like that's why they're good at painting cars. That's why they're good at drawing stuff because they're not all together upstairs.
Alan saying, for fuck's sake, how hard is it to do the shirt? The shirt's the easy part. It's the artwork.
Yeah.
Dummy.
Yeah, we can buy a shirt anywhere.
Yeah.
Go to Kmart and get a couple shirts.
Spray paint it. Well, you know what?
Stencil.
We'll just tie-dye some shirts and start selling them.
Right up Allen's alley. All right. Anything else? We'll get the new guests in order, and we'll figure out how we're going to make this all happen.
No, well, you know what? I'm going to have to call Jeff Chang. He knows a design lady.
There you go. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that.
I'll call you on my ride home.
All right. Well, we'll be back again next week. Hopefully it'll be Monday, providing we don't have any snowstorms or anything strange. So
I'll be in
floods,
Dominican
anything?
Republic. So
next Monday?
no, I'll be back. I'm going tomorrow. I'll be tan.
All right. See you next time, everybody.
Later.